Take your political theater to Texas.
This is not about political theater.
And it was more political theater than anything.
It's nothing more than pure political theater.
It's pure political theater.
Oh, man. Hello, folks. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, God, I look so ashy. Let me see. Put my filter on. No, I'll leave it like this. I'm just going to look how I'm going to look. How's everybody doing this evening? Oh, my gosh. We have a packed show today. As you are coming in, make sure you hit that like button. Hit that like button real quick for me. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We made it to 5,000, y'all. I told you that was actually my goal for the end of 2025. Didn't quite make it, but we finally made it. So we're at 5,000 followers. Let everybody know. If you just hit that subscribe, you have multiple accounts. Just subscribe. My goal is to monetize, and so having the followers and stuff really helps. And then hitting the like button lets people know that we are live right now. It does trigger the algorithm, so hit the like button. Appreciate you. If you're new here for the first time, I don't know what to tell you to expect. Oh, I'm so glad. Let's see where everybody is. Somebody said they're across the pond. I love it. Nice to see you at the end of the empire. Yes. Let's recognize, everyone, that we are at the end of an empire. And I told you all over a year ago when we started the show that I'm going to be the person playing the violin on the Titanic when this shit all goes down. I have to laugh to keep from crying. I have to laugh to keep from crying. All right, folks, get comfortable, get settled in. We do have a guest coming in later. He actually just did this 3-part investigative report on Donald Trump and what he might be hiding in Florida. And so I'm going to have him come in and he's going to talk about that. But we got to do our quick hits because, oh my God, there are so many things going on. So many things going on. Yes, I appreciate this. If you are new here, sit back and enjoy. If you are new here, do not mistake this black femme I'm kind of leaning into mask today. I'm feeling more like Michael. But don't mistake this as some typical black liberal or whatever. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm radical. And so we talk about, the show is called Political Theater with Dr. T because all of this is political theater. All of this is nonsense. And I'm just here to help us make sense of all of it. So we got a lot of quick hits today. All right, so let's start with, let's see, what do we want to start with today? You know what? Let's start with what everybody has been talking about all day long. And let's just get it out of the way because I'm so goddamn tired of these people. We're going to watch this video real quick and so you can see what's going on here. All right. I'm going to start it over. All right. So that video was, that clip of that video, it's a longer video, right? It's a longer video posted by like a right-wing account, kind of suggesting that various leaders in the Democratic Party, it also has the Clintons and stuff like that. Oh gosh, my dad is texting me. Sorry, I rarely get distracted, but my dad was texting me. But that's the portion that Donald Trump posted on Truth Social. And it's so funny because somebody had said it and I ran to go and see it and couldn't find it because, I got a Truth Social account. I'm everywhere, y'all. I keep tabs on everything. And so this was posted. And I've really been paying attention to the discourse because it's fascinating to me. Now, here's the thing. people are reacting, okay? We've got some reactions. Let's see what the Republicans have been saying. Let's see. We had Tim Scott. Let's actually look at Tim Scott's. No, that's not him. Well, we'll just go through here. Tim Scott, our favorite raccoon. He vote, and this is not on his Senator Tim Scott page, by the way. This is on his campaign page. I just want to make note of that. I think that's important. He says, praying it was fake because it's the most racist thing I've seen come out of the White House. The president should remove it. Now listen here. Tim Scott got more gums than a candy store. Okay. He got that fake marriage to that white lady because people were talking about he might be gay. Chat, I'm not drinking. I am not high tonight. We are doing this totally sober. Okay. Tim Scott, one of the people I love to hate, representing the state of South Carolina, one of the most racist states in the country, one of the hotbeds of slavery. He has been shucking and jiving for the Republican Party most of his life. So, if Timmy comes out and says that this is racist, because he's been a racism denier this entire time, folks. Let's be honest. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to put the messages on the screen so we can all see. He has been a racism denier. Him and Nimrata Nikki Haley, she's also been a racism denier. Does anybody notice that she hasn't said anything in a very long time? Like, where's Nikki Haley? Has anybody heard from her? Is she okay? Maybe she's a private citizen, right? But it's interesting because how far you got to go to push Tim Scott. Tim Scott is one of those Black people that wakes up every day and screams into the mirror because he's mad that he is once again Black. Okay. Tim Scott has sex in the dark because he doesn't want his wife to see that he's Black everywhere. Okay. Tim Scott doesn't even use black pens. Okay. Like, what are we even talking about here? So he comes out and says this is racist. Okay. So that's how you know this shit is racist. I can say it's racist, but I think pretty much everything that white people do is racist. But for him, that was something. And so then we did get Senator Susan Collins. She's like, Tim is right. That was appalling. And I just thought that was really interesting because some other people made their own posts. But you know how like white women and Black men, they link up together in the same axis of privilege? It's really interesting that she just kind of reposts his, almost as though she was waiting for the Black guy, right? The only Black senator in the in the Republican Party. She was waiting for the Black guy to say something so that she could take her cue and jump on it, right? She didn't say anything herself. And so she kind of had to show support for him at least, right? Forget everything else. She's like, I got to at least support, support my Black friend, my Black guy, right? All right. Then we got Mike Lawler. Mike Lawler is actually from New York. He's represented from New York. And he said the president's post is wrong and incredibly offensive, whether intentional or a mistake, and should be deleted immediately with an apology offered, right? So, white male, younger Republican, right? And so that's the thing you got to think about Mike Lawler. He is a younger Republican. And so age does factor into these things because while some of the younger folks are MAGA, there are still actually some younger Republicans. And I talk to everybody. And so the ones I would say that I've talked to are not as extremist as MAGA is, right? And so it makes sense that he would come out and say something. Then we had Senator Pete Ricketts from the deep South, Mississippi, said, even if this was a Lion King meme, a reasonable person sees the racist context to this. The White House should do what anyone does when they make a mistake, remove this and apologize. Now, they did go ahead and remove it, but there hasn't been an apology, okay? And this is what we got. So Carolyn Levitt first said, she said, this is from an internet meme video depicting President Trump as the king of the jungle and the Democrats as characters from The Lion King. Please stop the fake outrage and report on something today that actually matters to the American public. Now, we know that her little ditzy ass was going to say something like that because she is racist deep down to her core. She's so racist that she has aged 20 years in the last year that she's had this job, okay? Let's be honest, okay? And she's creating another racist demon baby as we speak, okay? And then she's married to like her handler, which is crazy to me. This whole Epstein thing, this whole thing. Now we know, didn't Carolyn come up through the pageants too? Now we know that the pageants, that we fully understand these pageants have been little trafficking rings, and that's why Donald Trump was involved. They say allegedly, that's why I got the allegedly banner. But like, come on, is this the one that he picked? Carolyn's the one that he picked and somehow negotiated. And what does her husband have on Donald Trump for her to get this job, right? Because it's her. And then who's the other one? What's her name? The one from the Pentagon, Kelsey or something like that. She's also like 12 years old. And her daddy was a Fox correspondent who was colleagues with Pete Hegseth. So we see how these younger women are getting these jobs, but we also see that these older men in the administration prefer to have these younger women in their workspace because that's what they want to look at, because they're all nasty predators. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of water. Sorry, y'all. But this is what's really going on. You hear what I'm saying? Mike Turner, Representative Mike Turner. Now he says, I do not feel the need to respond to every inflammatory statement made by the White House. However, the release of the racist images of former President Barack and First Lady Michelle Obama, excuse me, is offensive, heartbreaking, and unacceptable. President Trump should apologize. How long before all these people that said that Trump needs to apologize lose their jobs or turn up dead? I'm just saying. We got to put it out there. Yeah, Erica Kirk was in the pageants too. There's so many of them. It's a pipeline. It's a pipeline, right? So, you know, people are talking about this or whatever. Like I said, we know what this was about. This was about a distraction. This is about like, oh, how do I get people to stop talking so much about the damn Epstein files? How do I get people to look at something a little bit different than what they've been looking at? Because I'm tired of hearing about this. He literally said he's tired of hearing about this, okay? Something wrong with me. There's something really wrong with me. But this is like Donald Trump right now. Y'all remember this?
Here, look at the monkey. Look at the silly monkey.
That was when they were doing the Johnny Cochran and the Chewbacca defense and all of that. And he just came out of nowhere. You want to tell you something? When I first saw that, it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen in my life. It's probably high when I saw it, but that's why it resonates with me today as being one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But that was Donald Trump. Look at the monkey. Look at the monkey. Don't pay attention to this. Okay. All right, what else is going on? Oh, wait, we had Nick LaLota told Axios that President Trump has made tremendous inroads in the Black community. This is a Republican from New York, by the way. They hate niggas so much up there. How do I know? I was born and raised in New York. But he said President Trump has made tremendous inroads in the Black community, and I can't imagine that sharing a 1-minute video, the last second of which was pretty racist, wasn't a sloppy oversight by staff. The last second, it starts out with the Obamas as monkeys. These people are absolutely out of their mind. Okay. All right. Okay. So next up, we got Ketanji Brown Jackson. You probably didn't even hear about this because the monkeys. She's being investigated. They're calling for her to be investigated. Okay, let's Let's watch this. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's very ironic and frankly sad to see celebrities who live in gated communities with private security, with millions of dollars to spend protecting themselves, trying to just demonize, law enforcement, public servants who work for the United States government to enforce our nation's laws. And you didn't hear this same type of uproar from celebrities in Hollywood when the previous administration allowed an invasion of our nation's borders and allowed innocent women and girls like Jocelyn Nungaray and Laken Riley to be killed and raped and murdered at the hands of people who should have never been in our country in the first place. And now you have law enforcement who are simply trying to do their jobs to remove violent predators like those who took the lives of innocent Americans. There was no uproar from Hollywood and the elitist crowd at the Grammys then, but there is now. And I think that speaks to the unfortunate irony that we're seeing.
Okay, so I showed you that because Justice Brown Jackson is now, they're calling for her to be investigated because they're saying that she went to the Grammys and was clapping when Benito was like, ice out. Bad Bunny. That's what they're saying. I'm not making this up. Okay, here we go. So this is from Newsweek. Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts is being pressed by a Republican senator to investigate Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson over her attendance at Sunday's Grammys. Senior U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn. Won't a white woman do it? Won't a white woman do it? It could at least been Tim Scott, damn it. Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee said that Jackson should be looked into as the awards ceremony was rife with remarks opposing U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent ICE. While some critics have accused Jackson of clapping during those moments. So why was she there? She was nominated for a Grammy, I believe. I think for her book, right? Or something like that. Somebody fact check me. I don't remember, but she was there. And she's invited everywhere. They have that lady everywhere because she's the first Black woman on the SCOTUS. So yeah, she gets the celebrity treatment. Yeah, she gets all of that. She gets the book deal. She gets the albums. You know, she get everything. And they're mad because they saying that she was clapping when people were talking about, get rid of ICE and all of that stuff. So that's really interesting to me. We're going to keep our eye on that because it's actually pretty freaking ridiculous. But we're going to monitor that situation. All right. So then, oh yeah. So, we talked about this quickly before, this whole Patriot Games thing, right? And we know that Donald Trump is big on distractions. This is from CNN. Let me just show y'all real quick. This is from CNN. So they're saying that celebrity coaches and video applications, here's what we're learning about Trump's Patriot Games, right? And so they're saying that it's going to be one of the events that marks the United States 205th anniversary. Then there's a spokeswoman from Freedom 250, a nonprofit group leading the administration's celebrations, gave some new details, right? Didn't provide any names of celebrities the group is recruiting to work with the teenage participants. They're saying it's going to take place this fall. But here's what's interesting. They're saying athletic ability will not be the sole factor considered for eligibility. Potential volunteers will need to submit an online video application responding to a number of prompts to explain why they want to be chosen to represent their state. They'll be ages 14 to 18 from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and tribes, but those who will turn 18 before December 31st will not be eligible. And as it says, the competition has drawn drawn comparison to the Hunger Games, right? I said this. Have I not been talking about the Hunger Games this whole time? Did I not write an article like a year ago saying that you all need to go and revisit the Hunger Games because that's where we are right now? I'll just be talking. And I say these things because I read books. And I know a lot of people don't read books, but I read books. So we are headed towards the Hunger Games. They are going to have these kids competing to represent their state, and they're going to feel like complete failures when they go home, having lost to the niggas from New York. If any black kid is in there, I hope there are no black kids. Honestly, no black parents should be allowing their children to participate in any nonsense like this. But if they do, we're going to have our red, black, and green flags, baby. African love. Just saying. All right. So we had that. Let's have fun with this one. My God, today. We got a deep dive into this one, y'all. I don't. There's so much going on. I hate my life. What a stupid time to be alive. What an incredibly stupid time to be alive. All right. Here we go. You gotta watch this.
Loser. Dude.
Did you see that? Should we tell him? So bad.
Oh, bro, look at him. Oh my gosh.
Not funny.
Do not listen to that.
Thank you, man.
I know how it feels. Nah. They're not worth it, bro.
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello?
Guys. Okay. So apparently this was made by Robert Kraft for the Super Bowl. Okay. This is going to air during the Super Bowl with some of the most anti-Semitic people watching the game. They're already riled up. I hope it comes out before Benito Bowl because they're really going to be upset after Benito Bowl and they may start going hunting for some Jews. What was that? First of all, let's talk about, hold on, let's bring that shit back. To bring it back. Because what the hell was that? My God, today. Oh, every day I have to fight. All right. First of all, this moving, you think it's a regular bully thing or whatever. I'm thinking, all right, maybe he's gonna be a school shooter, you know, little petite white guy. Maybe he's gonna be a school shooter.
Bro, look at him.
Because they're all picking on him or whatever. Then you kind of like, oh no, he's Jewish, right? They cast a Jewish guy, right? And it says 32.
Do not listen to that.
And then this black kid that sounds like a white guy comes in and stands all over him with a big ass fucking afro. And he puts a sticker on his chest. And they're telling us that blue squares are how we're going to
Yeah, you're right. I was tripping.
What's your name?
Dave.
David?
Yeah.
Hello.
Do y'all understand? Do y'all understand the ridiculousness of this kid's name being David and then the black kid's name being Bilal. First of all, let me see if I can pull up that that damn cartoon that we never got. Let's see. No, I can't find it. I ain't gonna look for it right now. So Bilal is one of the first converts to Islam. And one of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, one of his first besties. Okay. He gonna name the nigga Bilal. Bilal. If you get that joke, then you're all right with me. But his name is David, like King David, like the Star of David. And they spent, you know how much it costs to have a Super Bowl video, a commercial during the Super Bowl? They spent all that money to tell people to put some goddamn blue Post-its on their chest. Go and stick them off the just for being corny. That's what we would have done. Even know what's happening right now. But here's the thing, and I'm gonna try to be serious. I don't know if I got some laughing gas, but everything is funny to me tonight. Maybe because it's Friday. David looking like this little scrawny dude, and the big black dude came to save him. I'm sorry. Are we supposed to ignore the rampant anti-blackness among a lot of Jewish people? Like, I know some of y'all are cool, right? Like, I know there's some righteous anti-Zionists and, Jewish people who love black folks, right? We know that there's been collaboration throughout history between Jewish folks and black folks. We know that Jewish people were denied access to things like the academy and went to teach at HBCUs. We understand all of that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the goddamn rampant anti-blackness among Jewish people. The same shit that exists among Native people, the same shit that exists among Asians, the same shit that exists among non-black Latinos. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. And y'all know good and goddamn well what it is. So why would you have this black kid, this tall black kid, come and now be the savior? Very much a magical Negro type trope for this black kid. And you're going to name him Bilal. What is it? The Jewish and the Muslim people are uniting against the stupid Christians? Is that... We are in bizarro world. We are in absolute bizarro world. And maybe because it's Friday. I don't know. It's not even Friday the 13th, which will be next week. It's not even Friday the 13th. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. Let's see. I'm going to bring in, because our guest is here. I'm going to bring him in. Hold on. There we go. Hey, my
Hello.
All right, everybody. I want to introduce you to John Verner. Let me do a formal introduction of our friend here. Now, I've been following this young man, on the Twitters. I rarely follow white guys because
you shouldn't.
Right. So John is an editor, a podcaster, a writer, a journalist, and he says he's passionate about uncovering the subtle manipulations within religious and political spheres, particularly in Christianity. He wrote a book called The Cult of Christianity: How Churches Control, Contain, and Convert. Katie, I know you already like what you hear. This is really important stuff. And so recently, John published a 3-part series, What is Trump Hiding in Rural Florida? And we are going to get to that in a bit, but I want to bring you on. I got a couple more things to go to. We haven't done Epstein yet.
Yeah.
And I think dovetails nicely into, what you're going to be talking about later. So everybody put a 1 in the chat to welcome our guest, John. We've had the opportunity to chat a bit. And I'm so happy that you're here and so honored that you are here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Come on. The truth has to get out. All right. So I wanted to next look at Mike Johnson. I don't want to look at him. Stunt queen that he is. I don't. This is a stunt queen. All right, let's turn him on and get
decades.
to the top here. All right.
Imagine if we had to go through the process of getting a judicial warrant, an additional warrant to go and apprehend people who we know are here illegally. How much time would that take? We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough time. It would take decades probably to do that. The people who are advocating for that don't want any immigration enforcement. They do not.
Okay. So he's basically, first of all, I mean, due process. Rip it up. Why don't we just rip up the Constitution? Why don't we just rip up the Constitution? Throw due process out the window. Who cares? Warrant, smart. Nobody needs anything. But what he unintentionally does is reveals the problem with the immigration system. Because on the other side, it does take years and decades for people to become citizens in the United States. And that's one of the major flaws. And so what ICE seems to be doing, DHS, all of them, they're kind of capitalizing on people who have been waiting for a long time. So they're, and they keep saying illegal, illegal, illegal. And it's not illegal. It's not a crime to be here when you're on the books. You may not be naturalized. You may not have, whatever citizenship, but you're on the books and you've been processed and you're making your way. You're waiting. And in the meantime, you're working, you're getting married, you're having children, you're doing all these things while you are still waiting. Excuse me. And it seems like, to me, it seems like they're trying to capitalize on those vulnerable people who are waiting and just want to get them rid of them before they actually get passed through and become citizens. What are you thinking?
Yeah, good Lord. Like the fact that he's just like, we don't have enough time for due process is right. Insane. And also it's interesting how the entire administration, often their propaganda seems to go into this like how could we possibly is like kind of like a vibe they put off a lot, when it's like the answer to how could you possibly is how previous administrations have done things. Not saying it's perfect, but I'm like, they're acting like they inherited something that has no precedent at all.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to me that that's a recurring theme, especially with Mike Johnson, but with the whole team.
And it's really interesting because Obama managed to get rid of a lot of people.
Sure did.
So if he could do it, why can't you?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not, okay, you guys know I'm not defending no goddamn Barry, but I think that, and there were definitely flaws. We know that they, Homan tried to say, well, look, the kids weren't in cages. They were just in fields that were marked off by gates, right? He did that under Obama. We know that Obama and Biden each had kids trying to defend themselves in court with no adults. We know all of that stuff happened. So we're not going to sit here and pretend that the system is perfect or that the Democrats were somehow fair and just in those ways. But if we're just controlling for the actual, hey, we control for all of that, we're just talking about numbers. Obama was able to do it. Biden and Harris were able to do it. Why can't you do it? Because you're losing all your cases because of all of these dumbasses you're putting out in the street who are jeopardizing everything. Right? So, what the hell? But anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Speaker of the House is trying to rip up the Constitution and get rid of due process. So another thing came up. So there was a secret panel that was to question climate science. A judge found that secret panel was unlawful. Okay, they produced a report that was central in a Trump administration effort to stop regulating climate pollution. So we all know that the Trump administration is basically trying to completely gut the EPA. They keep calling it a green new scam or whatever. They hate this idea of climate. It's not about climate because they know climate change is real. That's not the issue. The issue, they know the earth is burning. They're not stupid. Okay, Heritage Foundation is filled with PhDs. The problem is the regulations for businesses. And so by dismissing the whole climate change thing, they're basically justifying getting rid of these regulations that keep us safe and alive because they say it harms businesses, right? And so now we find out now that they actually formed this secret panel that was making shit up. It ChatGPT'd its way through thing. It came up with fake citations. I love when my students submit citations, the papers with fake citations to me. I'm like, oh, so where'd you get this from? And they're like, oh, I said, well, what'd you think about it? They're like, it's really, I said, it doesn't exist. That's what they're pretty much doing. They're ChatGPTing their way through things. So that's really interesting. Okay. So you want to get into some Epstein stuff? Really.
Might as well.
That is fucking wild. All right. Hold on one second. Okay. So let me share this with you all. We're going to talk about Bill Gates a little bit. You think that you think Steve Jobs had anything to do with Epstein?
It's like we're playing whack-a-mole with who did.
Right, we are, right?
It's like it's so massive and so clearly, like, it doesn't have to be that it can be tame and still be awful. Like, is the thing with these Epstein files is like any connection is suspicious at this point, and that's the issue.
Okay. So, yep, pretty much. I don't trust none of these people. I don't trust my mail person. My mail person could be in the Epstein files. I would look him up if I knew his name. But anyway, so there was back in December 2014, Epstein emails Bill asking for feedback. Apparently there was a meeting that they had, or there was an idea or something that he was sharing. And so he sends this on Monday, December 8th. Bill Gates left him on red for 3 days. Now, I imagine that's probably quick turnaround for Bill Gates, especially in 2014, right? So he says, I enjoyed breakfast a lot. All of the attendees were interesting people. We managed to talk about philanthropy enough to get their reaction without putting them on the spot too much. It's pretty clear to me that someone young like Josh wants he and his family to have more hands-on approach than the delegating 60% of he's like, I had less sense of how. Anyway, they're naming these different people, talking about fundraising. So much in these files is related to money, right? And either people asking Epstein for money, Epstein collaborating with people to raise money for things, for different projects, Epstein funding studies and projects and being involved in those things. So he writes back to him the next day, and he, how you were this powerful and you type like a toddler. And everybody was okay with this. Everybody was okay with the fact
those Blackberries, those Blackberries are pretty hard to type on.
Yeah, they didn't have to talk to text. Yeah. And so he's going through, everyone liked you a lot. What they heard was that you would let them contribute things like very special diseases, small worms that never gets funding, and My suggestion, and here he is advising Bill Gates, Jeffrey Epstein, who didn't even graduate college, I don't think, right? He's advising Bill Gates, technically one of the smartest people and most savvy business people in the world. And he's telling them, telling him how he should go about this, right? And you could talk about save taxes and all this other stuff. I suggest we have another meeting. Let me run it, moderate, or if you perhaps, I'm happy to have someone in my place, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff. And I'm like, wow. And at the bottom, he says, many interesting people visiting the island over the holidays. Of course, you and your family are welcome. Eva, Kathy Rumler, women that Melinda might take comfort with. Okay. So he's inviting him to come to the island. The island, interestingly enough, we are now learning that it was actually, New Mexico, or was it Arizona or New Mexico? That's actually the major site of the traffic.
New Mexico is the ranch.
It's New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico, right? But he's got this island and he's inviting people to come there because obviously that's his safe space. That's probably where he's the most comfortable, right? That's really interesting. So he's he's got influence. And there's so many letters like this that kind of just talk about all the influence that he has. And then let's see. Oh, I was just randomly looking at this one with Robert Trivers because he used to teach at Rutgers and he got kicked out because he was doing some foul shit. So I'm not surprised that he was there. But okay, anyway, let's watch Bill Gates talk about this shit. Let's watch him talk about it because he's copping pleas. Let's skip this ad here. All right.
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
There we go. I never went.
So, people keep saying I never went to the island as though that's the end all be all. Like, we don't know that he was doing stuff in his house in New York. Do these people think we stupid? Yeah. Do they think we're stupid?
Yeah, this is actually, this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like, there's this weird thing with the Epstein files where people think like you have to break a threshold with him in order to like be guilty of something. And I'm like, when someone is this, evil, for lack of a better word, there really isn't like a like, yeah, if you met him once and were grossed out and then like never saw him again, maybe you're cool. But I'm like, any meeting more than once in any context, in any state, in anything, it should be sounding alarms, even if you didn't do the worst thing that people who associated with Epstein did. You still were comfortable with him. And if you're not willing to hold yourself accountable for even that, like, you're immediately not trustworthy. Because if I had met Epstein at any point in my life more than once, I would be talking louder than anybody and explaining exactly every detail about it to exonerate myself if nothing happened. But that's not what's happening. We're trying to like, find their sort of justification for whatever loose association narrative they're trying to push.
Right. And it's so interesting because, the Jay-Z came up, right? And so, of course, folks are just like, ain't no black people involved or whatever. So when his name comes up, people are talking. And somebody said something interesting. They said, when he was accused of sexual assault and this whole Diddy thing, his people had a statement out within a day.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten a statement from Rock Nation since. He's been like linked to these folks, right? And I just think that that's interesting. I'm gonna just be quiet. But also, I think this is what I will say. Prior to him being convicted, the first time he got in trouble, for whatever it was, I can't hold you because you did like the way these predators hide in plain sight. The way that they cover up and all that disguise everything or whatever. And they generally don't start showing stuff until they get bolder and bolder and bolder. And so the fact that he got popped one time and was able to come back, that emboldened him. And I think that's where we started seeing more evidence of, his predatory ways. So if you connected with him before that, because somebody introduced you, said he's a mover and shaker, he's selling art, he's doing whatever. Okay. I can't even hold you on that. But after he went to jail the first time, there's no reason for you to be talking to him unless he got something on you or like you're like deeply in debt or whatever, or you're a messed up person, right?
And I don't think it can be understated how much his money influenced people either. Like, I think...
Oh my God.
People are like, and so much money that we truly don't know where it came from. And I think that is like a missing piece because the journalism 101 is follow the money. So I'm always thinking about the money. And I really think like we know how our seemingly good people in this country will compromise for money. Imagine if you're don't have any sort of moral standard, like you're going to compromise like crazy for money.
Like so much, right? And that's what we're learning, right? It's just like how many people's moral compass is broken, completely broken, and pointing them straight to hell, right? But it's also, but then what we can tell from the first batch is how we look at his house. And not just what we see with our own eyes, what other people have described. There were people who went for a dinner and never went back. They were like, this is some crazy shit. I don't know what this is. I don't want nothing to do with it. Never talk to him again. There's people who have written like memoirs, and I don't have their names off the top of my head, but have written books and stuff like that and have mentioned, I met him. He was creepy. I never talked to him again, even before all of this started.
Melinda Gates even.
Yeah, Melinda Gates. Actually, let's hear from. Speaking of Melinda Gates, that's a great segue. Let's hear her right here. Let's see. This is what she got.
Let me say this.
Oh, hold on.
I think we're having a reckoning as a society, right? No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages, those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? So for me, it's personally hard whenever those details come up, right? Because brings back memories of some very, very painful times in my marriage, but I have moved on from that.
Go ahead, girl.
I purposely pushed it away and I moved on.
She said, fuck you. and that's what, when you hear her say something like that, she knew. She found out and she was like, absolutely not. However, you don't say shit. You didn't tell the world what you know. You're still not telling the world what you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, yes, it's incredibly sad. Yes, it was a terrible time in your life. But you're complicit. You know what your husband was doing. We still don't have the full story, but you do. Yeah. You do. And you have the opportunity to say something, you know. But I look at people like her. I look at Mackenzie Scott, like, you know, them ladies was like, oh, no, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And Mackenzie, you know what? Honestly, I think Jeff Bezos has to be a virulent racist because Mackenzie keep giving all her money to niggas. He keeps giving all her money to black people. She's like, who else want one? I got it. Your school needs some money. I'm like, Mackenzie, can you give me some money for my school? Like, look, Mackenzie, you a quarter black? Here you go. $250. He must hate black people because Mackenzie Scott ain't met a black person she ain't willing to give $1 million. Okay. So you gotta love it. But that's, it's and that's the other thing that I was, thinking about. And then we're gonna get into your stories. Because I don't want to get too much into this, but I gotta do my little Epstein rant. Okay, listen. I actually don't like this view. I think we can do a different one. I like that one better. Okay. So yesterday I was prepping for the show. And I actually uncovered something that I just decided right before coming on air that I'm not going to talk about because I have not seen other people talking about this. And it actually took me doing some digging and kind of, up on the maps like this in a way that I know other people are not going to do. You're an investigative reporter. You understand what that's like, right? You're like sitting here like, oh my God, did I just discover what I thought I did? And I was going to share it today. And I said, oh, wait a minute. These people are also killers, right? They have access to the government. They are completely plugged into the government, all the files, all those kinds of things. Government got a file on me. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to be quiet. Maybe I'm going to let somebody else figure this out. But I do want to put a timestamp here. When somebody else drops this story, I'm going to put a code word like bedazzled. I'm just gonna post bedazzled, and y'all gonna know that somebody just dropped the story that I was on. But I was going through and I was researching and I was starting to put some things together. I'm particularly interested in, now that we realize that the power that they've had, I'm particularly interested in their movements in Africa. And so with the first drop, we learned, a lot about Epstein. Kind of, I called him the God of War months ago, like kind of connecting the militants in West Africa with Israel and with Russia and the arms dealing and all of that kind of stuff. He's like in the middle of this. Now, why would someone like him, school teacher at Dalton, be involved in this, right? And so I started going through the files and reading, their commentary and their thoughts on Black people, particularly people in Africa. And of course, the sadism pops up and their rancid racism, rancid anti-Blackness. However, they're very much interested in the economic potential of Africa, right? And so as we are watching people like Ibrahim Traore rise to power, the staging military coups and all of this stuff, getting rid of all the other government parties, banning elections until 2029, saying that democracy is the enemy of the people. We've seen all these things, inviting Russia to come in, right? He wants Russia to, he's met with Putin in Moscow several times. He wants Russia to come in and train the Burkina people. When you start seeing stuff like that, you got to start thinking, where's this coming from? Where's he getting his support from? Because he ain't got no money. His country doesn't have the money, right? They have some natural resources, but only recently have they been starting to push the colonizers out. So where's he getting his support from? Where's he getting the money from? Where's he getting the weapons from? You have to ask these questions. And now, as I'm digging through these files, Epstein's involved in this stuff, right? That's not freedom. That's not liberation for African people. That is not the spirit of Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah. That's not them. This is some white shit. And I believe he is being puppeteered. So that's one of the things that I discovered. But anyway, I was writing about it and I muted the thread, but I was inundated with people demanding for me to show a file number. Now, mind you, I said that I've been reading through several files and that there's a through line through them. And I gave a summary. What's the file number? I want to see it myself. Now, what was the subject matter you asked? Trigger warning, everyone. Mute me for the next 20 seconds. I was talking about how they were anal training these girls, right? Possibly boys, because that's what the clients preferred, right? And I'm thinking, why do you need the file number to go look at that? I had just posted screenshots, several screenshots. So I'm not against sharing that stuff. But you didn't think about the fact that maybe I'm not sharing this stuff because I'm not trying to further broadcast it. I'm not trying to be gratuitous. I'm giving you a summary. I'm sitting through this. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. So you don't have to. Instead, people, and they still are, by the way, are demanding and, the file number, chastising me for not sharing it, saying I'm not credible and I'm just making things up. Because I'm not willing to share screenshots of them talking about sexually assaulting girls, right? I think the worst I did, and I put a spoiler on it, was them joking about running down Arab children. I was like, that's as much as I can go. I'm not going any further than that. But people are they're clamoring to read this stuff. I'm not clamoring to read this stuff. I've actually spent most of my time in the Epstein files looking at the political and economic shit. Because I'm not saying that the abuse of children is not important. It is, but it's also pretty damn common. Every day we see a new white pastor here or some white guy getting arrested for abusing children. I'm used to this, or some black or whatever man is being arrested for sexually abusing children. I'm not saying I'm used to it, but okay. That makes sense. I'm looking at how this man has been controlling the world for the last 20 years before he was born, like before he was killed. Like how he's influenced elections and helped Russia steal the 2016 election. I'm looking at his influence in Africa and then in Israel and in South America, where all those fascists are flocking to. This is what I'm actually looking through the files for. And I happen to be seeing this other pizza party shit, you know? So that's all I wanted to say, is that I think people are going a little too far with these files. People have found ways to decode these videos. Now they're watching videos of children being tortured. And I don't know why anybody would want to watch that unless you're a completely sick fuck yourself. But yeah, so anyway, everybody, John, I'm going to give John the floor, because John did some investigative reporting and just kind of like you and I, we talked in detail. You don't have to give all them details, but just basically kind of just walk us through what caught your what sparks something in your eye and made you raise your eyebrow real quick. What compels you to start looking into it? What are some of the things that you found? And while you're doing that, I'm going to post the link so that people can check it out and read it for themselves.
For sure. And one thing, just quick comment about this whole Epstein files, what to share, what not to, that kind of thing. I just want to make it very clear that like the file drop was still not following the law, because the file drop did not redacted things it shouldn't and didn't properly redact things it should. And the demand to see things that you actually are not supposed to see for legitimately good reasons, as far as respect for victims, as far as you know, not engaging in child sexual abuse material. I think people need to take a breath and just understand why. I mean, for years this kind of stuff was only engaged with like institutions like the FBI, CIA, and journalists, like, because there was some discretion involved. And I understand the urge to remove that discretion and let it be a free for all. But I would feel remiss if I did not say, like, use your discretion, since this is so open and public, and don't demand anything, but like actually think before you're like knowing what to engage with. And so with that, to transition into what I've been working on, you know, it's kind of most of my journalism has been investigating churches and cults. This is not like my beat. I would say I like to steer away from politics. Unfortunately, I've had no choice but to cover politics in the spirit of covering religion and the rest of it, because it's been so intertwined. And of course, you know, being well versed in cult psychology has lent me the skills to understand Trump on a level that some might not. And so when I was originally looking for the story, like the story did not come about by me looking for it. What happened was I found like a random Threads comment or something, you know, some whatever that says, yeah, that Sebring, that property that Trump has in Florida. I was like, property he has in Florida, like Mar-a-Lago? What do you mean? And so like I like looked, and sure enough, there's this weird 1/4 acre plot of land that Trump owns in rural Florida, Sebring, Florida, Highlands County. And there were a couple of weird things about it. One, I only found like 2 or 3 news articles about it. And that's weird, because anything with Trump, you're going to find 10 to 20 articles about it just on the front, you know, first page of Google. And so I was like, that's weird that there's not that many articles about it. And then I clicked on The Guardian, because the other one was like Fox. And I was like, I'm not even going to bother clicking on that one. So let me click on The Guardian, and I look at it. And it's from 2017. And just as a journalist and also somewhat of a media critic, especially mainstream media, like I read the article, and so it did not answer a single thing. It just brought a bunch of questions, which is not normal. Like I'm like, especially for a publication like The Guardian. So I was like, okay, there's a lot of random details. So I just kind of like start in the spirit of kind of fact checking the article. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing the article has a lot of like incomplete information. I wouldn't say like falsehood, but just like didn't really go that far. And there were a lot of odd details. Here's a couple of them. One
Okay.
odd detail was so this property happened with a quit claim deed, which is usually what you use if you like giving property to another family member or something like that. The reason the sale price is $1 is because that's just how Florida makes sure that they can actually have records of property transactions. It's a gift. You didn't pay anything for it.
Yeah, we have that in some other states too up here.
Yeah. And so the property was grabbed in June of 2005 and then given to Trump in July of 2005. And it's pretty clear that from everything I've seen that it was like intentional. It wasn't like a happenstance type deal. So that's where I started. There's so many details. So like stop me if I ramble because it can get
no,
really...
we need the story. We need the tea.
Yeah. So so I'm like, okay, let me look into this more. And then the question that was really bothering me is I was like, Trump's never talked about this property, and Trump talks a lot about everything.
Too much.
The property is not a everything he owns is a company, like everything. This is him, the person. This is like one of the only things that Trump's on the person. He pays taxes on time every year, including 2025. Trump does not pay taxes on time ever for anything.
Doesn't pay taxes, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, granted, the taxes are like $60, so it's not like it's a big deal, but I'm like, that's weird. So then I'm thinking through, okay, what could this possibly mean? Now, the internets really just, I hate to say it, they want it to be bodies are buried there. Because I made a quick like Threads post before I even wrote my first story, just saying this is weird. Here's some things I'm spotting. And like when I like I was like, people are like, bodies got to be buried there. They just have to be buried there. And I was like, well, maybe. I mean, it's not, you know, I'm not taking anything off the table at first, but I'm like, that would be weird. So the thing I do as a journalist often when I'm doing investigations, long form investigative is my preferred way of doing journalism. And that usually ends up me doing like 6 months to 1 year investigations. And when I started, I was like, okay, well, this is a thing I do to check myself. I go, let me start with the least sensational explanation first. I'm like, what would be the most boring answer to this question? Because let me go through that instead of jumping to the worst possible thing it could be. So I go through that. I'm like, okay, tax. Could this be a shell? Could this be like some way to move tax? Look into it. Doesn't make any sense for that. So I'm like, okay. Next thing could be like, maybe he like, Trump's not that smart when it comes to real estate historically. Maybe he made a really bad investment. Like he was like, sick, I can get this free property. And then like maybe in a few years, it'll be worth so much more. And maybe someone hoodwinked him into it, you know, and he just like ended up with a worthless property and he was too proud to sell it. And I'm like, okay. But as I looked into it more, I'm like, there's really no need because the property is still only worth about $4,000. And like, you can't build on it because there's like environmental restrictions. There's no reason to have it anymore, especially as long as he's had it, which is over 20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah.
20 years.
Crazy.
So everybody write that down.
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah. We're going to have to really like focus in on the early 2000s for a lot of this story. So then I ask around some folks I know in Florida who are familiar with rural Florida culture. And they're like, well, you know, a lot of these MAGA nuts like to build bunkers. And I was like, okay, I could see that with Trump. I mean, like, there's been enough bunker speculation about him anyways. Like, let me look through that. But there's a lot of problems with the bunker theory. And one of them is that, like, the water table's really high. It's just not practical. It's such a small plot of land. So if he was building it maybe in adjacent properties, but looking at who owns adjacent properties, that kind of looks weird too. It would be very, very hard to build a bunker. I've almost completely ruled that out. Maybe a 2% chance.
You know, that was my question. That's why I asked him. I said, "You think this is a bunker?"
Well, that was my gut for probably a couple weeks. Like I was, but I don't go by my gut. I go by like what I can find.
Right.
But I'm kind of leaning away from it. Then I was like, well, what if he buried something? Like maybe not people, but what if he just buried a thing? Like I don't know what the thing could be.
Very valuable.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And I've looked into that, haven't ruled it out. But if he did bury anything, it's very shallow, whatever he buried. So that's probably it's not off the table, but I'm not that convinced.
What could it be? Something like files, like computer chips or files or something? Okay, you can't rule it out, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Then the other thing, of course, is the buried, the worst possible thing: buried children, buried people, buried whatever. It's a bad place to bury people when the storm comes down. The whole place floods. So like, it's a swampland. Right now, it looks very dry because Florida's in a drought. But like in general, it's very swampy. So it's just not a great place for that either. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. And also, it's just to be grim for a moment. If you are in organized crime that involves eliminating people, 90% of the time you're going to like burn them. You're not going to bury them. Like
I didn't know that.
Just because, I mean, it's
they don't have people swim with the fishes anymore.
I mean, they might, but even if you did that, you'd go to the ocean. You wouldn't go to the middle of Florida.
That's true. You wouldn't.
You know. Especially when Trump had access to way better options than this little parcel, right?
Right.
So again, not ruling it out, nothing concrete to say it didn't happen, but I'm leaning more away from that than I was in my first story. Here's where, now, if you can believe it, here's where things get crazy. All that normal
they were crazy already.
I know this gets nuttier and nuttier. So normally when I do an investigation, like most journalists would, I get all my facts, I figure it all out, then I publish. The problem is I don't have that kind of access, time, resources to do what this investigation would deserve to do that. So I'm like, let me do it kind of internet sleuth wise, publish as I go. And that way I'll get maybe somebody to speak up, somebody who has some document, that kind of thing. Boy, was I right, because after the first story, people were sending me documents. I can say
Look
that
at
much.
Look at it. Crowdsourcing information and tea. Yes.
And I'm very glad I did. Now, I'm not going to say all of it was good, but a lot of it was. And here's some highlights. So one of the things through investigating I found is, and something that was very jarring was that right after the Renee Good shooting, there was a private charter that went into Minneapolis within the time frame after the shooting, went to, I can't remember, I'll have to look it up, but went to another airport, then went to Fort Lauderdale, then went to Sebring, Florida, where Trump's parcel is. And so in less than 24 hours from when Renee Good was shot, a flight went to Minneapolis and went to Sebring. A private flight.
Y'all.
Now I have no passenger manifest.
When's the last time? I can say this. You can't say it. I can say, when the last time we see that dude that shot her? I'm just gonna put it out there.
So thinking through that, I was like, could the time frame even work? Because if the time frame doesn't work, no point in publishing it, right? Time frame works. What I don't have is I don't have passenger manifest, and I don't have like anything confirming that Ross went to Sebring. I have some more information that makes it suspicious, but I want to vet it first before I speak about it publicly.
I wish more people did that, but you're also an experienced journalist.
Yeah.
Journalism is still alive. It's in critical condition, but people like you are holding it down. People like you are holding it down. So we thank you.
Go to hot take. Go to journalism school. People think it's overrated. It's not. It helps you think through stuff. The other point on that particular issue is, I can confirm that ICE uses private charter flights because ICE has admitted it themselves in the context of deporting detainees. What's weird is that they haven't necessarily confirmed they move agents through private charter.
Okay.
But based on the flight data I'm seeing, I'm pretty confident they are.
Okay.
Which could be, I mean, it's, could be legal. What else is new? But it also
I have a question, but why would they feel the need to move the agents by private charter instead of like commercial flights or, or U.S. marshaling a Delta flight or something? Like, why would they want to use their private charters?
That is a good question.
That is the question. Okay.
That is a good question. So that was kind of the next big. I was like, huh. So Sebring is popping up on something I was definitely not expecting it to pop up on.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is I was like, so I get thinking about Epstein, right? It's in the headlines. It's all this. And I find through the Epstein files, the first drop, not this latest one, that there was a deposition given by Larry Vysotsky, who was Jeffrey Epstein's piloted both his helicopters and planes. He told in his deposition that he went to the Bahamas and he went to Sebring in like this 2-year span in about 2008. And I'm like, okay. And I find the passenger manifest, and sure enough, Larry Vysotsky is on there. Another pilot is on there. The Goldbergs, who are these like kind of sketchy lawyers that are kind of infamous in Goldbergers, I should say, to father-son sketchy lawyers in Florida that like you can even just go on their website and you can tell who their clientele is. And then like 3 redacted names. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So we know Jeffrey Epstein had a plane in Sebring in 2008, 3 years after Trump has a parcel there. I'm like, cool, a fact, interesting. Then in this latest Epstein drop, let's see. I just saw a comment. I'll respond to it in just a second.
Yeah, what's the comment you want to?
It's from taking off the tinfoil. That's my friend Sinane. Hey Sinane.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll get back. Let me address this.
Okay, you get back to that. No, you want to do it now? Or you want to get back?
I'll address it real quick. So because this was in the original Guardian article and was definitely another red flag. So the original article said Nazima. I'm going to use her first name because she uses her maiden name, which is Nazima Munab is her maiden name. And Nazima Carrico is her married name. She uses both interchangeably regardless of whether she was married or not. That's going to probably be important in later stories. She owned, according to The Guardian, a adult lingerie photo shoot business. So 2 things. The Guardian specified adult. You don't call lingerie.
You don't call it adult unless it's the corn. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you can say adult shoots or you can say lingerie shoots, but you very rarely say adult lingerie shoots. That doesn't that's unnecessary. And the Guardian didn't attribute it to anyone, so I don't even know how they got that phrase or if they made it up themselves. But it's very odd words. So Nazima is a person. The house directly next to it, there was this weird kind of conspiracy-minded thing where there is a family that lives in a house next door. They had a thing called Grit and Grace LLC that sold children's clothing. And of course, everyone wanted to go, they sell children's clothing. This must be connected to Epstein, yada, yada, yada. I'm not confident or comfortable asserting that allegation for a couple reasons. One is that LLC didn't start till 2023. It's already dissolved, and to me it's not a store, it's a house. They just had triplets recently. My guess is they were just selling some clothes. Until something, I
used to sell my kids clothes because he was growing fast. He wore something one time, I'll put it right on eBay and sell it and try to get some money for formula.
And it's true, you don't necessarily need an LLC to do that. So I'm not saying there's no red flags, but just wanted to clarify that was what was next door and what a lot of people were like thinking about. Getting back to the Epstein flights that went to Sebring. So I was able to confirm with this latest Epstein drop, and I'm going to be full disclosure about this. I am only looking for one thing in the Epstein files, and that's any connection to Sebring, Florida.
Okay.
And there's 2 reasons for that. One, plenty of other people are doing plenty of other things. I don't need to worry about that. 2, this might be a hot take. I don't think the Epstein files are going to reveal anything worth thinking about too long, because that's what they're willing to show. And I'm not interested in what they're willing to show.
And isn't there like still 2.5 million left?
Exactly.
And so, wasn't there like some like vault that had like other files and all the stuff like that?
These files have already proven to be emails, notes, random articles that are part of FBI packets that they saved for later. Like,
Yeah.
there's no filtering mechanism that any one person could do. Even a team of people would probably have to use some technology to like actually go through these things. And even when we do go through these things, I'm not sure what we're finding is actually anything we don't already know.
Yeah.
The thing that's great about it, I guess, is you have like something to cite, you know.
Well,
I
people
guess
are looking for names, right? They're looking for
names are great.
names.
Find, yeah.
We have seen Donald Trump's name in there. We have seen all kinds of stuff. People are looking for names, but the real stuff is in the videos, right? And we're not watching those videos.
Right.
And we already know what's in those videos. And there's a good chance that when you see somebody emailing and saying, that was a great pizza party last night, let's get together soon, and there's an attachment with a video, there's a good chance that, you know, so we don't need to know anything more than that. What we need to see happen is those people being held accountable.
100%.
And if that's not going to happen, what's the point? Like all these people that are sitting there in the administration, all those people that they said were working, you know, all round the clock to redact, they have all seen this stuff. They know who everyone is that is involved.
Right.
And the administration is doing absolutely nothing to bring charges against any of these people. They've been sitting on this for several administrations now.
Exactly. And to even go further, like what I'm doing isn't even necessary. Like I might discover Donald Trump broke the law. No shit. Like he breaks the law almost every day. Like I'm not that concerned about figuring out the thing. What I'm interested in is the further I go with this, the more I think Sebring seems to be the thing they're hiding, and that's what interests me. Because what I did find in this latest drop was that Jeffrey Epstein has been to Sebring, Florida in 1994. That's confirmed in the files in a passenger manifest. He was in Sebring in 1994. The last thing I'll say as far as what's published, and then I'll give a little sneak peek to what will be published Monday morning, we'll say. What I just published was like a pretty deep dive into who this Nazima character is. Because she is fascinating. I'll say this much. She owns hundreds of properties that are about a quarter acre long. Hundreds. Her family owns hundreds of worthless properties. And when I say worthless, I'm not being casual about it. I'm saying these were bad things to buy from any kind of perspective. Additionally, they're bought in really sketchy ways, which you can read about in the article. I won't go bore you with all those details, but like something ain't right about how these are being bought. And how did Nazima meet Trump, and in what way are they related, is the central question of what I'm trying to answer in this investigation, because I think it will unlock a lot of other things. Some other things about Nazima. She's owned a lot of fictitious businesses, which is a legal term, not like she's making things up. Like she owns businesses that don't actually do anything, especially in the early 2000s, including some interesting names. One is Ban Internet Worldwide. Another one is Dogs and Biscuit Cafe, or it's like a bed and breakfast. Dogs, Bed and Biscuit. It's like a bed and breakfast for dogs boarding thing. She's owned an escort service called Metro Atlanta Friendship.
You know, Atlanta's where it's popping.
Yeah, I live in Atlanta. And the other, the big one that was referenced earlier, the photography studio, weirdly enough, was not an LLC. It was called Kane of South Florida. I don't know why. I don't know what Kane of South Florida means, but it's designated for photography, but it's a corporation that had shares, 2,500 shares. If you're a photographer and you're starting a business, you do not incorporate and have shares unless you are just doing something massive with your photography, because what would be the point? She also went in with her husband, whose name is Eddie Joseph Carrico. By the way, there is a Joseph Carrico who's in the FBI, who is in the Epstein files. Don't know if they're related or not, but an interesting thing I'm still working on. But Eddie and Nazima had a business together called ENC LLC, which I'm assuming stands for Eddie Nazima Carrico LLC. And that's where they were doing basically illegal real estate deals. They were,
and we know Trump loves an illegal real estate deal.
Exactly. And
That's like his entire life.
Truly, especially in the early 2000s and even earlier. So, they've both been cited for like unlicensed real estate activity, and then a year later it's all resolved, and then they keep doing it. So that's all I've put out there. Let me give a little preview to what's coming next. The next thing I'm gonna post is about the airport there. The airport is not like an airport you would normally think of. In fact, they even call it Sebring Multi-Logistics Center. It's a airport, it's a warehouse. They own the racetrack that's there, and they are their own government. They are the Sebring Airport Authority. They work outside of Highlands County. It is a perfect place to move any kind of contraband. I can feel confident saying that.
Okay.
It is massive and way bigger than anything anyone else in Sebring owns. And they've done shady land deals, which I'll confirm and document and all that good stuff. And one person involved in this shady land deal has an LLC called Make Sebring Great Again.
Come on.
Could just be a fan, I guess.
Come on.
But fucking weird.
Come on.
And so
come on, guys.
Yeah. And then the other tidbit I'll give is Nazima, the day after I published that part 3, listed one of her properties for sale for about $20,000 more than it's worth under a real estate agent's name so that it doesn't connect to her. So the trail is hot. I'm still on it. I still have way more questions than answers. I'm happy to answer any questions, by the way. But the thing I'll just say, blanket statement, is because I'm a journalist by trade, I am going to be very methodical in how I do this. Okay. In a way that's actually kind of obnoxious. Because for me, I'm not assuming I'm going to find something that's going to take down Trump, because that's just not happening, and there's plenty to take him down and no one's doing it. So I'm not too worried about that. What I want to do is correct the public record for the future, because I do truly believe that a lot of whatever this thing is that involves Epstein, Trump, real estate, breaking laws, maybe even Israel, like all the ICE, all these weird fringe connections. I think the hinge is somehow Sebring, Florida. I don't know how, and I'm gonna figure out.
This is your story now. This is your story now.
But that's where I'm going with it. And I'll just say that, like, in this day and age, it's really easy to connect dots and have a belief, and that's actually not, in my opinion, horribly wrong to do. I just think my job in all of this is not to have a belief. It's just to find the evidence. And I'm going to keep doing that. And I think, oh, I see someone saying I'm on the Sebring Airport website right now. There's a lot interesting on there. I've gone, that's what I've been doing this past week. Yeah. The Sebring Airport is kind of like a mess. But yeah, internet sleuths, if this is interesting to you, if you like weird, neat stuff, like, go for it. Find all you can find. Send me what you can send me, because all information is information. But yeah, it's going to be hard, and it's not going to be easy. I would give this, 6 months to a year to figure out what it is. And I'm going to keep at it. So that's all I got on that.
Where can people follow you? I know you're on Threads. Where can people follow you?
Yeah,
put your thing in the chat. You can see the chat. You okay? Put your handle in the chat. Put your website in the chat.
It's gonna make me log in on my YouTube and all this. All right, let me.
All of that, please. No, like, come on. We need to know. We need to keep up with you. We need to follow, make sure you're all right. Because you digging into some stuff. You know how these people are. We have seen it, and everybody. We are always sending our energy and our positive energy to folks that are digging into this stuff, because this is not casual, y'all. People are literally risking their lives and their well-being. Like, I invited John to come on the show because when I was starting to read this story, and then we talked for like an hour on the phone, and I was just like, yo, like, this is serious. Like, and and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay. So we are going to be, at least if John is going to be putting this out there, we're going to at least be amplifying and supporting it. You know what I mean? Like, chat, I need you to make sure that you amplify this because like he's doing the true journalism here. We're not doing the sensational stuff. And then somebody else earlier had said, I'm sorry, I missed the thing. It said, thank you for the care that you show. I gotta remind you guys, I have 4 seasons of a podcast called Black Girl Missing. One of the things that we do is that we focus on not being salacious and sensational. You guys got to remember, I'm also a retired social worker, right? I am somebody who cares about these things, and I'm not going to be careless, and I'm not going to have anybody on my show who's going to be careless. You understand what I'm saying? So, y'all have to worry about that here. You don't have to worry about that here. We're not about that. Like, you said you're kind of focused on this. I'm focused on the economic angle of this. Like, how has this man been controlling the world? And they even suggested that he's like a honeypot, and that that he was intentionally setting these up with these world leaders so that he could be able to blackmail and control them. Maybe for Russia, they're saying he's a Russian asset. There's so many things that are being said that I'm just interested in all of that because we have these theories, and like I always put on my little tinfoil hat, because sometimes you get into that space. But like when we start seeing people like a Elon Musk, a Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, and all these folks who are wealth hoarders, they're in this technocracy, right? They're trying to like push this technology. Is Zuck on trial right now for like the damage that Meta has caused to young people? Like they have been intentionally manipulating cyberspace.
I'm not on Twitter. I saw a comment.
Yeah.
I'm not on
and manipulating our personal algorithms to fall in line with whatever their ultimate goal is, y'all. And I mean, I have my hat on, but y'all can see clearly that this is what is happening, right? And that's why, like, when we talk about resistance, it's like, well, what does that look like? I mean, it looks like turning off your phone, but they've got us so hooked that we're all connected. So for me, when I see a handful, like a literal handful of men have more wealth between them than like 80% of the world, come on.
Well, and this is a good
what are we
point
doing?
to talk about kind of the weird, because like so I'm one of the most conspiracy hesitant people you'll meet. That's just how I'm wired. Part of it comes from being in the cultic upbringing. Like I just tend to not be like sensational. And I think there's a really important distinction between like conspiracy theories that are theorizing about what could be and the fact that conspiracies exist. And
sure
I'm like,
do. Panama Papers are right there.
Panama Papers, Interpol. Like, I mean, there's so many different type things. And I'm like, I think it's important to go like, part of my process as an investigative journalist is I might not say it all publicly. I have to believe some crazy shit up here just to move my investigation along. And I think it's okay to like entertain a thought. And that, I mean, this is Aristotle stuff, right? Like where it's just like entertain a thought without accepting it, like
trust but verify.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot of what's missing. And so like to the people, I'll, if you don't mind, I'm going to use your platform to say a gripe or two. One gripe, I appreciate y'all tagging some news aggregators in my stuff because you want it signal boosted. I am a journalist.
I hate it personally, but
I'm like, I'll take a signal boost. I know what I'm doing. It's okay. Like y'all don't, you don't need to wait for your favorite person to confirm it. Like you can read my credentials and you can use your own brain to determine whether you trust it or not. The other thing too is like, there's this, I feel like people want there to be bodies there. Like, and like, I don't get that. I hope there's not. My hope is that.
Well, they're trying to nail Trump. And if the 34 felony convictions didn't do it, if the fact that he's clearly an abuser of children isn't moving the needle, they need somebody to be dead. They need bodies because a lot of people are thinking that's probably the only thing that could get him nailed. And that's what I think people are going for.
I
don't
mean,
want
if it
anybody
was
to be
that,
dead,
if
you
it was
know,
that
but-
simple, I don't even know that. I mean,
Okay.
what do you think bombing other countries is? Like, I'm like,
Well, no,
yeah.
come on, you're talking about Americans.
Yeah,
You're
that's
talking about
true.
the average Americans, and then you're talking about MAGA. They are not connected at all. They have no real sense of what happens in with foreign affairs. They're not smart enough.
But we did. I mean, we kidnapped a head of state. I mean, I'm like, it's like
They don't see it that way because they're not smart enough, John. Like, I keep saying this. We're thinking about things because we are critical thinkers. We're high-level critical thinkers. We're talking about people who abandon critical thinking.
I suppose what I mean is
but I know
I hope I'm wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be great if I learned that, oh no, Trump didn't even know he had it? Like, great, story killed, I move on. Like, I think there's this weird like hope in finding enough dirt on him. And I'm like, there is enough dirt on him. You don't have to find it. But for collectively, like, I think thinking through these things can be an exercise. Two things. Convergence matters, right? Like, the reason I'm talking more like a conspiracy theorist than I ever have in my life is because there's things that connect that shouldn't. And when things connect that shouldn't, you should pay attention.
Yeah.
And there is some sort of clandestine, low visibility system that is related to Sebring, and we know Trump loves those. But I'm not really asking anyone to believe me, I'm not really asking for this is true. I'm asking people to like look at the facts I've laid out and like look at the record and add to the record, because I'm like, this stuff needs to outlive us. Like, the propaganda is already happening. The propaganda is gonna outlive us.
Yeah.
So like, whatever we can do to counter that for whatever future generations hopefully exist is, I think, the best thing we can do for each other and for our loved ones and for the predicament we're in. And I think that involves some methodical thinking and some like, I mean, you talk about it a lot. Critical thinking, reading, like sitting with something, not having things spoon-fed to you. I would just be remiss if I didn't make the point that like, hey, this story seems sensational. Like, that's cool, I guess. But I'm like, don't just be hooked to the crazy details. Like, actually go like, how do we disprove or prove them? I think is going to be a much more effective resistance. Than like,
there were certain things that I was picking out. I was like, oh, that looks, and then I went and I disproved. I was like, oh no, that's not it. And so like, I don't even bring it here. Like, we don't have to go through all of this.
Find joy in that. Find joy in things.
I'm not even going to sit here and be like, oh, that's what no. It's like, oh wait, that actually didn't pan out. But I'm a researcher.
Yeah, absolutely.
We start with research questions, hypotheses,
methodologies.
Gotta prove something. It's either real or it's not, or whatever. But
it's probably my own fault for being chronically online and seeing the worst of the worst. but
also, I think there's, and this is an important thing, and this is what I talk about sometimes on the show. It's like, the more you read, the more you know. And so a lot of times I'm sitting reading things and it triggers something I already know. Or it triggers something that I read, or it triggers something that I watched, or some event that I remember, because I'm sociopolitically conscious. I read a lot. I study things. I do deep dives all the time. Like, my computer's always run out of memory and stuff and data, because I'm always like saving things. I've got binders and binders and binders full of journal things. Like, these are things that I do so that I can be aware. So if I am reading through the files and I see a name, I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
I know
David
that
Stern,
name.
I was like, David Stern just got fired today.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that David Stern, you're not NBA's David Stern, but the German financier.
Yeah.
Like, they finally fired him from the board today. And I'm like, well, I see the name. I'm like, oh, I know. Oh, shit. I was like, a Rothschild? I was like, I know who that family is, right? This is, I'm just encouraging people to read more.
And
Please.
Something else you said, if I may hijack your audience and say, if you want to do me a favor, screenshot my shit.
Mhm.
print it out. Like,
Mhm.
without saying too much, like, yeah, this is slightly dangerous type reporting I'm doing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if I am not suicidal, I have no interest in
Mhm. Mhm.
unaliving or whatever YouTube forces
Mhm.
us to say these days. But like, if I'm gone, something's up. And like, I would appreciate the more the stuff is printed out and saved in secure ways, the
Yeah.
better, because
We
then
got you.
nothing's in vain.
We got a whole chat right here ready,
That's
and
right.
not just save the PDF, y'all. Like literally print it out.
Right.
So much we have to do has to be analog, and I'm saying that because like I'm
I have
literally
a safe
staring at like a
full of
binder of
analog
stuff.
stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
there's certain things that I print out because, again, as a researcher, there's
Don't
been
pray
stuff
for me.
that I'm like,
Appreciate the
I'm
sentiment,
like, yeah, he doesn't want. Don't pray. We don't do that over here. Don't curse me. Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
I'm like, appreciate the sentiment. Don't need it.
But no, but like, I look at some things that I'm looking for and it's out of print, doesn't exist anymore, or there's like a few copies left. There's certain things I have that are like one of the last remaining copies of them, because we have to preserve this. Just generally, like, we have to preserve it. Look at how fascism moves, and look at how quickly it is to delete files. It's not hard.
And they're too lazy to burn books. I hate to say it. They'll ban them before they'll burn them. So like, use that to your advantage. Also, if you have like, there's so many things, but I'll just say, like, resistance is not just for now. Like, resistance is not just to make your life better in this moment right now.
Exactly.
And you have to be having
suicide, Huey Newton. You got to be thinking about the future. You got to be thinking about your role in moving us forward towards truth, towards freedom, towards liberty, right? That's how I see my role, and that's why I live each day fearless, right? I'm just like, they can come pop me tomorrow, and I'm like, what? You know what? Y'all ever do anything to me? You know what's going to happen for the next few months? People gonna be talking about me. Right. And they're going to be singing my praises and sharing my stuff and pushing my message forward. It'll motivate people. It'll inspire people. You know what I mean? And so we got to look out for each other in that way. So like, I'm always, every day I check your feed, or, to see, did I see him? Did I see him? Because this shit is real, y'all. We're not even playing. Like, we're smiling or whatever, but this shit is real. Our guy, John, has published some shit that is very, very real and very serious. So if you don't mind printing out a copy of it, just to honor him, just honor his work. And we just gonna check in on him every day. We're gonna check in on.
I'll take it over a follow. I'll take it over a follow. Yeah.
Right. We're gonna check in. But we're gonna follow you too. Everybody's gonna follow you too, because we're gonna boost these stories. We're gonna amplify this.
And I don't mind being scooped. If you find something and you want to be the one who discovered it, go for it.
Yeah.
Don't care. That's great.
Yeah. But I want to thank you so much for joining
me
this evening. And I think you're so smart, and I love the way that you approach these things. And
that's an honor from you. I appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you. You're one of the few white guys that I follow. So
that's all I'm here for.
Yet. Like,
someone literally. I'll say this. A friend the other day said you're the wokest white guy I've ever met, and I felt like I won. I was like, my performance, it paid off. I've won.
What you needed to do. You did what you needed to do. All right, I'm gonna send you back. I'm gonna talk to these people. Thank you again, everybody. Say thank you to John for joining us. Really appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut him off like that. I'm sorry. You guys know. Okay, listen, everybody. These are precarious times. We really don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. We see our current administration is throwing everything at the wall and trying to see what sticks. That whole Obama monkey thing was not an accident. It was intentional, because it got everybody to talk about that today, and not the fact that David Stern, the German financier, just got fired from his board, from the board that he's on, right? It's supposed to distract you from the fact that they want to investigate Ketanji Brown Jackson, a justice of the Supreme Court, because they're saying she may have clapped at the Grammys, right? You're supposed to not be seeing all of that. And I know people say, well, we can hold multiple things, and most people can't. let's just be honest that we have actually moved into an era where people have been so, I don't want to say dumbed down, but you know what I mean, right? That like there's been an intentional effort to decrease the amount of like knowledge, to decrease our intelligence, to decrease our intellectual processing. Like, and it's been happening and it's been effective. When you see folks like me expressing frustration on social media, is because it is incredibly frustrating and difficult to be a high level critical thinker and constantly engage people who can't think beyond their own nose, right? All of this is by design. All of it is intentional. And so what do we do with that, right? We keep on keeping on. We create spaces like this. We create communities like this. You all continue to show up for me in amazing ways. I'm going to continue to show up for you. I told you this year I was going to do more guests, right? So far we've had 2 guests already, right? I told you I'm going to try to do more guests. We're going to keep bringing in the quick hits. We're going to be doing more of the deeper dives into the important stories. We're going to remind everybody that this is all political theater. No, I did not talk about the Kamala HQ nonsense today because I don't give a shit. There are things that are way more important than whether or not the multi-losing Kamala Harris creating some organizing thing for Gen Z. I don't give a shit about any of that. I would be 100% honest with you. I am going... Look, Dr. Hall, shut up. More guests. We'll see you on Tuesday, hopefully, Dr. Hall, if everything is all right on your end. But again, I love you all with the love of liberation. I love you with the love of my ancestors. I love you with the love of everybody that fought for you to be here right now. I love you in a way that sometimes you don't love yourself, and that's okay. Just know that I'm out here loving you in that way. We're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. Sometimes I wake up and I'm not too sure, but I have to believe. What do I always say? I have to believe that we will win. I have to believe that we will win, and I want you to believe that we will win. So when you wake up in the morning, I want you to think we will win. And before you go to bed, I want you to say we will win. I love you all. I hope you have a great night, great weekend, and I'll see y'all next week.